For the past months, I have been showing you eWasm implemented on a Cosmos SDK chain. eWasm is Ethereum-flavored WebAssembly, but we want more flexibility, so today I will present you with WasmX. WasmX is the most basic virtual machine that runs WebAssembly code for a blockchain. WasmX gives you access to storing and loading data from the chain, gives you access to logs and basic information about the block and transaction, like the block height and transaction sender. And WasmX can run alongside eWasm and other VMs, virtual machines, on the same Cosmos SDK chain. So you can still use Solidity for your smart contracts, but with WasmX, you can write contracts in any language that compiles to WebAssembly. And if you use AssemblyScript, for example, which is a TypeScript-like language for WASM, you don't need any additional libraries. And this is a simple storage contract in AssemblyScript. Now here in the WasmX file, we can define the host imports that we are using for the contract, like storage, storing and loading, getting the call data, which is the input for our smart contract, finishing the execution or reverting, and making a log. And in the contract itself, we can use JSON to encode and decode our input and output. We define an empty function for the interface version and an empty instantiate function, otherwise known as the constructor for the smart contract, because in this case we don't have anything in the constructor. Now the main function expects an input of type call data with a method name, a string, and the parameters, which is a JSON stringified object with the arguments for that specific function. And in the main function, I am calling the appropriate function based on what the method name is, either the set function or the get function here, with the appropriate arguments which are parsed here. The actual contract functions, the set and the get functions, we can use them to get and set any key in the key value store of the contract. Keys and values can be up to 64,000 bytes and 128,000 bytes respectively, so we no longer have the 32 bytes restrictions from the EVN engine. The set function stores a value at a given key here in this code, and here it makes a log of the key encoded in at most 32 bytes, because we want to have this as an indexed topic. Now most of this code is just casting from string to a uint8 array, and we can have a small library to abstract out all of this and make the code easy on the eyes. But now we have our contract here. We've already built a release WebAssembly code, and now we can go to our Mythos plugin for Remix. I am running a local Mythos chain with WasmX and eWasm, and I'm connected through Kepler, so we can make transactions to the local Mythos chain from this Remix plugin. So we are going to upload that release wasm file, and we're using a direct upload. Release wasm. We're making the store code transaction. And here we are given a code ID which is 15. So now we can go to the instantiate tab, and we have code 15 already filled in here. We can say assembly script simple storage. The transaction for instantiating the contract, And now we get a contract address, which should already be filled in here. Now, this contract doesn't have an ABI definition like an EVM contract, but it will have a JSON schema definition for creating interfaces programmatically. But for now, we will just paste here the raw JSON object for calling the set function. And it looks like this. So we are calling the set method with parameters, which is a stringified JSON, and we are going to set for a key named myKey the value myValue. We are making this transaction, and now we will be able to call the get function with the same key. We see that the transaction has been executed. We are going to run this call as a query, and we got our value. So we have the data, which was UTF-8 decoded here, so we can see the actual contents. Let's run this again with another value as a transaction. And this is the new value. So this is the first version of WasmX, and it's already very useful. Writing contracts in assembly script is a breeze compared to languages like Rust, and you can even do it from your browser without needing to install anything. WasmX is actually the core blockchain abstraction over which other VMs like eWasm and Cosmos can be built, and any languages that compile to Wasm can be used to create smart contracts, like AssemblyScript, Codon, or Python-like languages, TinyGo, and more. WasmX also means more flexibility for eWasm and different versions and flavors of Ethereum virtual machine, but this will be explained in future videos.